So welcome everybody to this month's Practitioner Zoom. So we have invited you all on. You might be bars practitioner or body process or facelift, or you could be a facilitator. These are for everyone, but really catered to you guys having questions about growing your business with the access tools and things like that. So we would love your questions. We have a lot of languages being translated today, which is great. So you can ask questions in the chat or unmute yourself. Today, too, we have Lauren Polly on with us. And Lauren is an amazing access facilitator, and she's written books, she's an author, she's a speaker, and she also has an amazing way of taking the access tools and talking about them in a language that people can hear. She works in a hospital. She's a language speech therapist. Lauren, I don't know if I said your title totally right. And so she's worked in hospitals, taken like bars and things to hospitals and doctors and people that work there. And we had her on for a very short bit on one of our other like facilitator calls. And so we asked her to come on this one because the way she talks about de-stressing and the kind of key terms that this reality needs to hear, and then they go, oh, I'll try that. And so she's going to talk a little bit about that. And also she's really great at, so say there's like a wellness center or a yoga studio or a hospital, you're thinking about taking bars. She is very good at kind of show you how you can look at a website, how you can look at the language in that company or business's culture and use that as a way to get information to then see if it's a place you'd like to offer access tools, no matter what, what kind of type of the business you're doing. So welcome, Lauren. You're on here somewhere, right? I have to scroll through. There you are.
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
I didn't butcher my title. It's okay. Hello, everybody. It's a mouthful sometimes, Yeah, so I think questions that you all have on this topic would be amazing just to kind of get a read on, are you interested in kind of going into places in the community, how that's gone for you, what you're really requiring some assistance with. And then I've got a couple of different websites that we can look at and kind of deconstruct to see where the opening may be, who to connect, and how to kind of tease out the language that may actually just have people pop in curiosity and drop their barriers a little bit to actually let you approach and offer. And there's some echo there. Was that me? No.
I think it's someone talking that we will mute.
All right. So I got my eye on the chat, and then Emily and Betsy, if you want to help if anything pops in there. Let's just dive in, okay? So let's see.
Cool. I think there's one question that you might even be able to speak to first.
Sure.
It's a little different, but it says, Judita is asking, I would love to recommend other people's bar sessions or classes. Does anyone use a good system to get commission for these? Commission is a different thing, but you might want to talk about a system to kind of create together when you have other people in the area or region that are also creating access businesses.
Yeah, one thing that we do that's kind of fun, I'm in Redondo Beach and I have like Gabrielle Venna who's close to me. I've got a couple other bars facilitators. When we have odd numbered people coming for classes, we usually have another facilitator come in as like the dummy head. That way there's an even number. You can kind of, there's someone there to practice on. But it's also a beautiful invitation of, oh, here's another facilitator, here's her take on it. Something like that's really fun, just to be inclusive and not like, I'm the only one in town kind of thing, but actually opening it up that way. Trades are fantastic. The bars gifting and receiving, especially if multiple people show up. You could do taster evenings where everybody kind of co-facilitates. You can highlight other people in your newsletter. You can say, hey, I have a bars class coming up and here are the other ones happening in the same month. So if you can't make mine, here's someone else you can check out. So it's kind of a beautiful way just to include everybody. And it's not anything against you if they choose a different facilitator. Who knows what their pop of awareness is that has them reach where they do. The point is that they're reaching, How does it get better?
Thank you for that, because we get a lot of questions about that. And I know some of you on here are facilitators and some of you are practitioners. And what we hear a lot lately in Access, because we have we're growing so quickly. And so a lot of people go through bars, and what we hear a lot is that they have no idea what comes next, like if they've been to a class. So you even if you're just a practitioner, that's amazing. Here you are offering this body of work, giving someone sessions. If you're teaching classes, you're also doing that, but it's a real gift to stay engaged with your clients, following up with a phone call, or phone call is great, and an email. If you can do a phone call, that's wonderful, and an email, but saying, hey, like if you're a practitioner, you could say, did you know there's bars classes, there's body process classes you can take, and you can pull, like if you go to the website, you can pull up classes by your country, by your region, and you could give people links like that. A lot of people might not know, especially if they're just coming for a bar session. You might want to send them to the part of the website that talks about bars if they're interested. You kind of want to ask them questions. Some people just want to come and receive a session, but it's great, especially if you've done a class, like facilitated a bars class or an intro or a facelift or body process. Like, let them know what's next, that there is a foundation, there is more. Some people, you never know what is the amount that they're like desiring to choose, and you also don't know what they're going to choose in the future. So it's just great to give people, if they ask questions, talk with them, see what they're interested in, and give them possibilities. You can, if you can buy access books, and buy them in bulk and sell them to people, and have them available just so people have they know what else is possible, basically. And like Lauren said, it just creates a great sense of communion and oneness of like, yeah, I do this, and there's also all these other people, and empowering someone to know what will contribute and who will contribute when, and allowing that, because that creates a greater flow rather than trying to keep your clients or your people in your classes just for you. It creates a lot more when we all play together. And as far as commissions go, that is, so everyone's in their own business, right? So if I run bars, or I'm a practitioner, I'm my own independent person. But sometimes, like, someone would maybe like to, if you have another facilitator in the area that says, hey, if someone says they directly came from your bars class, like, I'd love to offer you a percentage of that. But that is a total personal choice. And you might not want to make it about the money. And you also might want to honor someone for sending someone to your classes. And that's a choice and a conversation you guys can have individually with other practitioners and other facilitators. And I would just say, ask, like, what will create the greatest future here? If you didn't have any conclusion or point of view of it's about the money or it's not, or, just kind of staying in the question of that. Awesome. Okay, yeah. So Lauren, take it away.
Well, I think like a thread from that, and then a thread to what we're going to be talking about too, is less is really more. And I think sometimes, like, either we're inviting people because we're so enthusiastic about access that we're like, oh, here's like the 50 other things you can do, and they get a little overwhelmed sometimes, and you can kind of see their eyes fog over a little bit. And also, same thing with approaching a community place where you want to get involved, either doing tasters, coming in and doing sessions, staff education, whatever that may look like for you. It's the same exact thing. I think sometimes we think we have to give people all the information for them to want to choose. Sometimes that's not the case. You just need to actually put it in a way where they can receive it, like being kind enough to give them the little nugget that has them lean forward and kind of make that step for themselves. So I would say in general, just with messaging and inviting people to more, less is more sometimes. And then when they ask for more, that's your chance to go, oh, here, okay. And then follow the energy from there. Beautiful way to invite people and not put them into like information paralysis kind of thing, And I think a lot of us think we have to explain stuff. You know what I mean? I was like that at first. Like I didn't talk about my bars business because I was like, I don't know how to talk about this stuff. And then I kind of looked at my vocabulary that I already had in the places I was looking to go into. I'm a yoga instructor. I work at a hospital. And I was like, oh, I already have vocabulary here that I'm seeing results with myself with my bar sessions, and that my clients are too. So what if I just use the same languaging? And it was an immediate bridge and point where people could easily cross over into my business. So first and foremost, wherever you guys think you don't have connections, wherever you think you don't have the language, wherever you think that you're off isolatory by yourself with ain't no one to reach out to, well, you just destroy and uncreate it all. times a godzillion, right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Emily and I had a wonderful conversation way back when about like, geez, it would be amazing if people just use the connections that they already had. And for some reason, some people are really resistant to that, and that's cool, but I invite you to look at that. What if you actually were willing to go in the community where you already had people listening, you already had a connection, and just lay it, you know, I'm doing this new business. This is what I've noticed. Walk away and see if they come back and ask a question. If you know somebody who works in an organization and you're interested in going in there, you know, that's a great in too. Hey, are you looking for a speaker? Are you interested in some staff education? Are you having a fair soon where I could bring my massage table and run taster sessions of bars or facelift? You know, spas would love that. So just start looking at what you're already connected to, and then it's just a matter of branching out from there. So no one's starting from scratch here, even though you feel like you may. Maybe, okay? All right. So let's look at our first website. Oops. It would help if I shared my screen first. Just opening this. Let's see. So share. All right. So the first one we're going to look at is a yoga wellness one. And the way I found these, and you can kind of play around in your own awareness, if you just go on Google and you're interested in going into a wellness center or yoga, put in your city, put in kind of the key term, yoga, wellness, whatever, and see what populates, and then just start perusing their websites. When I come onto this one, the thing that immediately pops for me is not only do they do yoga, you know, some people, if they're doing yoga, that's kind of all that they want to do. But over here, you see there's a whole wellness part of this business. So that to me speaks like, cool, they're not only interested in just the yoga physicality, they're also interested in the wellness component also. So that's an opening in my awareness. And if you scroll down, I'm going to take you through some stuff. The workshop and events is really interesting to me too, because now I know that they have classes. So if I did want to go in and do a taster, like an intro to access bars or an intro to the facelift, or even just a different topic that you're, you know, certified to do, you know that they have classes. So that may be another in for you. I talk very quickly. I know I'm getting translated. If you need me to slow down, let me know. Also, if you have questions, just interrupt me too. Is there someone?
I want to mention something, Lauren. As you're going, so if anyone is on here and you're a practitioner but not a facilitator, if you have taken or are looking to take the Choice of Possibilities class, you can then do an intro class like Lauren is talking about, like a one-time class, 4 hours or under, live or online, so that you don't have to be a facilitator to do intro classes if you've done a Choice of Possibilities class. So I just wanted to let people know that too.
Yeah, you could just give like a little hour talk and talk about stress relief, you know, something super basic, or like what's beyond mindfulness, or what's beyond yoga, or what's in addition to your yoga practice, because you already have a community here who's interested. It's just a matter of giving them a different way in and a different access point to that. So I think that's a great idea, because you could do a taster, and then from the taster, you could lead people into a class. You could lead them into free taster sessions. You could start partnering with the people that you meet there. If there's a lot of different possibilities, depending on what you are kind of called to with your business. You know, some people like to teach classes, other people are more the one-to-one. There's a lot of different possibilities here. So keep your targets in mind. As we scroll through, this is kind of the thing that super interests me. So holistic sanctuary. So then I start looking at the copy. So it's a wellness spa. And look, they have rejuvenate the mind, body, and spirit. So in terms of languaging that you can pull out, you can say, oh, wow, okay, how does bars or whatever else I'm facilitating actually assist with these things? This is the target. Most businesses tell you right from the get-go what their mission is. How does that align with what you're offering and what your target is too? If there's a match, that's awesome. That may be an opening. If there isn't, it's probably not something you want to waste your time on, you know? Rejuvenating the mind, body, and spirit. And then I love this, just making us feel our best. And to me, that's what bars does more than anything. And it also is cool because you can see under here, the services that they have, they're not, again, just yoga. They have massage, acupuncture, they have energy medicine. There's a lot of cool crossover there. Ayurveda, which is a yoga medicine. And then if you go to the spa, let's see if it'll let me click on this. There we go. Another thing you can do, because from here, you know they're open, you know they're looking at similar things. There's some possibilities here if this is what you like to talk about in the community that you like to be involved in. So then I go, I wonder who I can connect with. My next question. So through here, scrolling through, we have a meet our practitioners. So if you click on that, now all of a sudden you have everybody, their bio and their contact information. So you could easily just kind of scroll through, see who's light, see who pops. That's your person, you know? And I, again, also like it too, because as you go through, you can see acupuncture, acupressure, deep tissue massage. I was looking at this earlier, so I kind of know where things are, so I'm going quick. Acupuncture again. And then if you go all the way down, now we have a Reiki master who's doing energy work. You know, a life coach and holistic health practitioner. She may be super open to some of the stuff that we talk about, especially if you do body processes. And then they even have osteopathic doctors as well, which is really cool. So that's kind of how I would break this site down in terms of finding languaging, finding if there's an opening, and also finding who to connect with, because that's your first step in. Do y'all have any questions about that? The yoga wellness angle? And again, you can come up to the copy here. So what they're looking at boosting immunity, reducing stress, increasing energy. They're also looking at empowering people to improve their quality of life. So those are beautiful talking points. If you were going to send an email, you can use the exact same energy. Oh, this is how I reduce stress in what I do. I wonder if it would be a fit for your clients, you know? All right. So that is like a yoga wellness one. I've got two other ones here. Let me grab this one. So this one is a hospital. This is my old hospital, actually. They're really intriguing because they have a whole wellness center that's attached to the hospital. So this is for staff members. It's also for the community. And if you scroll down here, you can look here. They have events, and they also have massage and therapeutic body work. So again, my first thing that I'm looking at is what are they wanting to offer, and is there perhaps a crossover where there's an opening for me? Massage and body work. And now all of a sudden I have a plethora of information and also key terms to start to use with. Also, side note, if you're looking at building a website and are looking at how to have languaging to describe your business cards, any pamphlets or terminology just to drop in when you're giving your pitch to somebody or connecting, these are fantastic. Again, decreasing pain, increased relaxation, who does not want that? Improved outlook on life. Look at this, stimulation of the self-healing process for all you body process facilitators. You know, they're using the exact same language that we have a direct crossover with. Miss Emily? Get something?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you can copy and paste and put those in the chat, those are awesome. If people aren't writing them down, those are really good.
Aren't they fantastic? This is kind of the fun part. Do I have to stop sharing to get to the chat? Is that how that works?
You can, I think, still pull up the chat.
Let's see.
At least
there we go.
Cool. Thank you. These are great. Because I think people, so like you said, they don't know how to talk about access because they they try to use access language, and this is so great because it's really similar, and it helps with the struggle I think a lot of people say they have. So These
Well,
are
it's
great.
why we don't speak, right? It's why kind of like our tongues get tied as we introduce ourselves to people, or where we don't make that conversation starter when we probably would if we just, again, looked at the languaging. This is just really fun for me because you can look at what's already created. One of my favorite questions to play with is what already created entities can I pull on that would actually contribute to what I'm creating? And it's amazing. As soon as you ask that question, you'll find news articles, websites, different people. It just gives you more information about the world out there outside of your bubble. And you can find ways to actually start talking to people in a way where they can receive it. So this was gold mine for me. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And again, there's direct crossover with what we offer. Okay. So they're already open to that. They do acupuncture, reflexology, healing touch. Again, they offer Reiki, craniosacral. So this is something where you could go, okay, they're not just offering one thing, so they're open to many different possibilities. Where's your in, right? So then now that I have languaging, I see there's an opening, then I have to kind of go, how do I connect with them? So let me see. If you scroll down, usually there's a connection down here. There's just the general phone number. For something like this, you could call the general phone number if that's all you can find. And then you could either ask for the wellness center and then just speak to the person at the front desk. Say you're a practitioner and you're interested in offering services. Who can I talk to? That's an easy way in. Also, if you're looking at going into a hospital for the staff, you could contact HR. So you could call the general number and contact the human resource department to get in that way. I have found personally working with the hospital system, it is way easier to work with this, just any kind of alternative modality at this point with gifting it to the staff other than the patient population. Not to say it's impossible, what else is possible with that? But basically, if they're offering it to their patients, they want a lot of research, they want a lot of validity, because it's like the doctor's putting their stamp of approval on it. But there's a lot of opening to get in with the staff members. So if you can start there and they can see the impact and the effects, then it's a natural crossover to then get in with the patients. So again, sometimes I think you're just not looking where the opening is at that given moment, And then there are a lot of community places, like right now, we're working with the police department here in Arizona. We're kind of getting in with that crew. And they're just open to anything that works, basically. But again, not offering to the community. At this point, we're going for the first responders and the cops. So look to see what's the easiest path and also where that can branch out from here,
Lauren, I have a
Mm-hmm.
question about that. What part of Arizona are you referring to? Because I'm outside of Phoenix. I'm in Chandler.
Cool. This is Emily. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Tucson? Is that where he is?
Yes, Tucson. Mm-hmm.
Tucson. Yeah. Yeah. So a police officer loves the bars out there.
Awesome. Do you know who that person is that I could connect with?
We can give you that information. Probably.
Yes, please. That would be lovely.
Yeah, see, this is the fun part. You know what I mean? You never know who else is out there doing the exact same thing or having that same kind of musing or the same awareness of a possibility. So this is kind of the fun part about, again, not operating in a bubble, but opening up about, hey, I'm interested in this. Who else is as well? Because not everybody's going to want to go in a hospital. Not everyone's going to want to work with the first responders or the schools. It's just kind of putting it out there so that you can have more people and then share resources. So we're not reinventing the wheel constantly,
Love it.
I would love that information too. That's so wonderful because I'm in Tucson as well.
Hello, Sylvia.
Yeah, I would love it.
I recognize that voice.
Okay, bye.
All right, hun. Yeah, so that's kind of the hospital one. And then I did find this one too. Emily had asked for a grief center, which I thought was really cool. I found this one here in LA. And again, I went on Google, I put grief center, Los Angeles, and then kind of perused the site from there. So this one, again, totally different talking point. So this is all about bereavement. So after someone has passed away, they have a lot of volunteer opportunities. And then if you come down here, I was kind of looking more at the support group. So they're really working with people on releasing emotions. Where did I find all that information? Where did I go? Sources. This is always the fun part when I perused and then I can't remember where it went. Let me go back to the home page here, because there was a lot of beautiful copy on this one too. Support group, volunteer. Here, I went to support and then adults. So it's kind of nice if you can find a page that has a lot of copy on it, because you can then pull the information and again, see first of all, if this is something you'd like to do, if it's fun, and also what you can contribute. So they're looking at emotions, obviously after losing somebody. Huge talking point there. They're in shock and they're feeling it surge through you. That's a really good kind of emotional term that they're using. For me, the bars, release. How many people aren't looking for a release of that? So you can totally talk about being able to release the emotions. You know, that talks about sleeping more than usual or unable to fall asleep. Bars can definitely help with sleep cycles. We've seen that. Roller coaster of emotions. You can talk about how it eases the emotion and kind of brings on a sense of peace. There's a lot of beautiful talking points in here. And again, since now I know kind of what their languaging is, then my second question is contact info. You know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of digging through a place to get to the right person to say yay or nay, or how you can contribute and get your foot in the door. If you don't hear back right away, follow your awareness, but I wonder what follow-up is required. You know, so many of us will send an email, and if we don't get a response, we give up. But how many emails do you delete daily because you don't know the sender, or because you're busy, so you miss one? You know, sometimes a follow-up is required. I also find sometimes showing up in person or making that added personal touch of picking up the phone, even though I know it's confronting to cold call people, actually makes a huge difference as well. It just shows that you're really invested and interested in showing up for people, and that you're a real live person out there. You're not sending mass emails out to anybody who will have you. You have a genuine interest, you know? That's one thing I did with the yoga center. One of the ones that I did bar sessions at, I actually went and took classes and went to a couple of their events just to get a feel of the space and the people, and then make personal connections that then led into business connections. I think sometimes we look for the, what is that? It's kind of like the immediate gratification. You know, if you look at this way more as not like a business connection that may totally boom right away, but more like a relationship development. So actually building a true, authentic connection to people and contributing both ways. That's a different energy to approach people with. Yep, so those are the 3 websites I had. Do y'all have any questions about that? Stop sharing.
You're getting lots of gratitude in the chat.
Guys? Yeah.
Okay, Lauren, I have one more question. You and Emily had done the other video that had to do with the brain research on the very end. You had that little tidbit. There was a little bit that you you shared about the email. Could you go over that again? Because I was trying to, I paused the video and because I need to run a lot of 5s on me because Are you feeling where I'm going with this?
Yeah, is it the email that we made to send out to people, or was it? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So
going through that.
Okay, we made Terry Hope and I, Dr. Terry Hope, who does a lot of the research now with bars. We want to talk about that research subject too. That's a good one to bring up. Side note, sorry, shiny object too. We came up with a form letter because, you know, so many times you want to get in with an organization and you stare at a blank page and aren't quite sure where to even start. So it's a very simple, straightforward letter that we can send out to all of you. And again, it's not really like a pamphlet of information to hand to people about what you do. It's just more of an opening with lots of blanks. And those blanks are really there so that you can do what we just did, look at their business, talk to the people, actually see, well, first, you know, am I interested? Is this a place where it'd be fun for me? What's the commonality? What are our shared interests? What can we contribute to each other? And then pulling apart the copy so you actually have the languaging of, oh, you're really interested in releasing emotions after grief. I have this amazing modality that I teach or give to clients that does exactly that. I'd love to come and offer you a sample session. Or I'd love to come and actually have a conversation with you. So it's more of that. We didn't do a form letter in the traditional sense where it just sends it out. Again, that looks like a mass email. That's not super personal. I don't really know if you get a lot of response that way. This is much more of a conversation starter and a bridge for a more a bigger relationship. Does that help, Gina Rose? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thumbs up. I like that. Yeah. Yep, just more possibilities, you know? But if you start looking at it more as a conversation starter than anything else, and we hadn't talked about that, but sometimes when I was looking at starting this in the hospital, it was interesting because I was like, I'm not quite sure what my in would be. And I didn't really get that talking about it or explaining it was going to create a whole bunch of interest. But I did know that the energy of the bars kind of speaks for itself. So that was my in. I actually started offering, first I worked at a health fair that they had. I brought my table and I did taster sessions for people. I went back to back for 4 hours with people doing 10-minute sessions. It was pretty amazing. I thought I'd hang out for an hour, but there were a lot of people who were interested in stress release. So there you go. And then from there, talking to the doctors and the nurses about coming out of a reaction, you know, kind of that syndrome that we have of like the final straw and the straw hits and you lose your shit. It was that conversation of like, as soon as that happens, you've already gone too far. That's when regret comes in. And you're then having to make it up to the patients, the family, or your coworker. This kind of helps take the edge off so you don't hit that final straw stage. You're able to release as you go. That really kind of popped awareness for a lot of them. From that point in that conversation, I offered free hour-long sessions to the doctors and also the other therapists, just because that's my crew. I'm a therapist there. The nurses might have been a bit overwhelming at that point because there's so many of them. But that was always my my question was really cool. Can I actually give them a session, give them a sense of it? And then afterwards, that was my follow-up. What do you know about this? And where can you see this actually being applied? Who can I talk to? And that's when I got invited over the course of months and months. It was a slow build to come in and actually do an in-service with the doctors and do a little bit more of the nurse education. So it's kind of the same thing. It's finding the languaging. And it's also, I wonder how you can invite people onto your table, especially if they're ones who may be connected to go, oh, this is the next person you need to talk to, you know?
And to add to that too, in a similar way, if you can get people on your table, and also if you all go to other holistic practitioners for anything, like if you go practice yoga, if you like, I know I get acupuncture sessions every now and again, or I go to network chiropractor, and when they have an intake form that asks you, what do you do? That's a good place to write down access consciousness, because I've found almost everyone goes, what is that? What do you do? And then the longer I go somewhere, they can see how different you are. You might not realize the different energy you be. And I have had multiple people work on me say, wow, you're really different than my other clients. What else are you doing? And then that gets them curious about, well, I get my bars run, and it starts another conversation. And they often then will ask for sessions, or, the other clients going to see them. Sometimes there's other people's cards in the, in the foyer, or when you're coming in and out of a class or a session, you'll meet other people that are often other practitioners and other modalities or things they're doing. And so you can start to engage with those people, and not from a place of self-interest that like you want to tell them about you, but ask them questions, get to know them. And then usually, if they're interested, they will ask questions because they can notice the difference you be. And that's a really other natural way of creating connections and questions without having to be that push energy. It's just you walking through the world being that difference.
I love it. It's kind of like being oh, what are they called? The lighthouses that kind of like just, they shine so bright that the ships can just see them from no matter where they are. It's like, what would it take just to amplify your light and your difference and allow people to kind of have that, all have that factor, whatever that is. It's also kind of cool to see the people that you don't think are noticing how different you are, they actually are. Because that's the same thing that the doctors had said to me, like, oh, now I know why you're so calm when you're dealing with all these hard situations, you know, where they're like, oh, I always see you sitting out during lunchtime at the trees. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you pop your interest just by being yourself. And you may be surprised about who's already noticing that, but not maybe saying anything. But if you gave them just a little bit of this tidbit, I wonder if that would start a conversation, you know?
Could you both say a little, sorry to interrupt again, Jenna Rose, could you both say a little bit more about that? Because I just moved to this area that I'm at from Silicon Valley. And I find that a lot of people ask me, what do you do? And so I use Access in reference to business and choosing ease, mostly business owners. And so because when we're spinning all of these plates, you know, and like we drop the ball on things and things of that nature, I'm like, and so it just depends, because I mean, I have the people that I know that they can sense an energy about me, but like, I don't know, like I'm still learning how much I can, because it's a new area for me, how much they could actually receive, because it feels light. And then I tell them and then they go, whoa. And I'm okay with that, no point of view, but at the same time, Emily's laughing too, what's the way that I can give just a little morsel to have them ask more questions? Because I do the best that I can to get them to talk, but like there's no reference point for access to them of, you know, new possibilities or what else, you know, to actually not have any, it has to be hard or you have to work to make money. It like, that's so weird to them.
And it's so different, right?
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different energies popping, and you have your own kind of point of view with this, which should contribute too. It's almost like the energy of when you're pitching a business, you have to have like your elevator speech or your tagline or the one thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is so interesting because how much of an authentic actually communication is there in that?
Yeah.
You
and
know,
that's
how
what
much
doesn't feel good to me. Yeah, that's what doesn't feel good to me. And so I've gone to a couple women's networking groups and a lot of network marketers, and there is one energy worker in there. And I shared that, you know, I'm a business consultant, and she goes, well, I'm an energy worker. And I said, excellent, so am I. And her head went, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So I wonder what you could say, and for all of you, and I'm asking myself this too, how many different variations are there to put to words what it is you offer and contribute to people?
Yeah.
And what experiences can you actually invite into your life and your living so that you actually get to experience it coming out of your mouth and have that aha and the awareness of what's reflected back to you? Part of this is just the play and getting out and talking to people. Because as soon as you start opening your mouth, I mean, we do this for years, right? You say something, you're like, oh, that didn't go super great. Oh, well, next time. And other times there's like an aha, but then you have an aha, you talk to the next person, you try to recreate the aha, and that doesn't create anything. Because we go into these reference points so often. Really what's popping is something Dane said during the BARS facilitator class back in January, which was awesome. I highly recommend the recordings for that if you haven't been a part of it. One of the conversations he had was talking about his business and pitching his business, having different anecdotes, different kind of ways to say things, different stories, just floating in the awareness. And that way it's there, it's not foreign to you, it's not foreign to your tongue to be able to speak to it. But it's enough in your presence so that when someone comes up, you can actually read the energy and have that there to give. So that might be kind of a cool muscle to start building. Just getting out and talking to people is going to build that repertoire for you, you know, and not making yourself wrong that when it doesn't pop, it doesn't pop, you know? Yeah. How's that? You muted yourself again, so I can't hear you, but yeah.
I know you could feel the energy. You could see my mouth move. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I find that that's the really interesting thing is, there's a sense of, okay, well, if they lean in, then that's a match. If they don't lean in, then that's not a match. Because I'm recognizing that there's that old reference point of, you want everybody to lean in, but you don't want to play. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't want to play with everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah. What would it take to be the chooser,
Exactly.
Yeah. Or you could be really obnoxious like me at the hospital where they would come up to me and they said, "What are you doing on people's heads?" And I would give them like a sentence and I would walk away. Constantly, because I really wanted to know who was interested enough. And I mean, lo and behold, people would find me days later, weeks later, months later. That conversation that we had, that was really interesting. I've been thinking about it. Someone that I didn't think was interested at all. But I got a lot of that was being able to have that space where I didn't have to give so much up front and gave them time, because sometimes the one thing you give them is such a reality rocker for them that having them kind of play with it in their own space and then be empowered to reach for it is really cool too. So I did that kind of constantly. I was like, oh, my pager's going off. I have to go.
It's like, bye.
Yeah,
Awesome.
find ways to kind of play with it. But if you have the energy of play and not significance with it, it gets a hell of a lot easier,
Yeah, and I find that the significance, like I was like, oh, I'm new in town and I need to be known, and everything that is pock and pot and fuck that shit.
And how can it be simpler than you could possibly imagine?
Totally. Thanks, Lauren. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, honey. Emily?
Oh, I put in that class that Lauren was talking about because there's the whole bars facilitator training, but Dr. Dane did like the first evening class, and it was so phenomenal that we actually do sell it in the shop separate. Like you couldn't take that class on its own when it was offered, but it was so good, and it's live streamed. So I put that link in the chat, and I think it's in Spanish and Portuguese as well. And I don't know what other languages. I know it's in those two for sure, and maybe Japanese as well. But it was wonderful. And when you're saying all that, I also like the languaging Lauren was giving earlier, a lot of times talking about the result rather than trying to explain what facelift is or bars is, talking about, well, I do this thing that reduces stress or gets you out of, it's like talking about the result it creates, and they go, oh, what is it? And then, and then you can say, oh, it's this thing called access bars, or it's this thing called, and would you like, and I offer, I can offer a taster too, because it's hard to explain, but I would love to show you. And then you don't have to go into a bunch of explanation. And like what Lauren said, that walking away after a sentence is brilliant. I've seen, when we'll be at events or classes or lunches, and I'll see people ask Gary or Dane what they do. They give one sentence of, oh, I do this thing that kind of changes, makes you have a happier life or a greater life, and that's it. And then the people that go, no, come on, really, like, tell me more. The ones that keep asking are the ones that are interested. It's so true.
Mm-hmm. Save your breath, man. On that business call that Gary did, I think like 2 years ago, he actually asked that question. He was like, how long do you speak to somebody and try to sell them on something when they're not interested? And people on the call were like, we just kind of keep going because we think eventually we may talk them into something. Well, that's selling, that's not inviting, this is just a different way to kind of work it.
Yeah. Oh, here, Vicki has a great question in the chat. It says, hey, Lauren, what would be a great way to approach family services? I see that they have an emphasis on mental health and anxiety in regards to kids. Here's the website. She put the website in the chat. I was thinking of something along the lines of creating a pilot project.
Cool. Well, let's click on it and see. This is kind of fun. My book is The Other Side of Bipolar. So I talk a lot about anxiety and depression and mental health, and Access was a huge contribution. And oh my goodness, I'll share my screen again. Just bars in general, I think, is life-changing. So I wonder what is possible with that. Also, the research we have with Terry Hope, there's already a study that she's done. It was a pilot study on the effects with anxiety and depression that had amazing statistics. So that's up in the Ning for you. And then of course she has the global project going on right now, which we're hoping to get more and more responses with. That's going through September. So that would help as well, because there's actually data on the change with anxiety and depression. As we're going through this, so this is cool, Child and Family Center. So again, first and foremost, let's look and see what the opening is. We know that they're doing mental health stuff. It's always that all-important mission statement, you know? Let's see, our services, how we help. This is a good one, our process. So they're really working on accessing services. Having to move the chat thing around here. That doesn't really give us a good overview on kind of why they're doing what they're doing. Success stories. So this is what I do, just kind of like plunk around until you find something of interest. So these are success stories. So this will give you an idea of their population struggling with depression. Again, we have that research study that you could use for that. Also with this population in general, I'm curious the stories that you have personally that you've noticed change in your own space, and also the other people that you may have worked on, or even like a story you've heard from somebody else about the impact that you could share. Sometimes that is a huge, it's not just a personal connection, there's an enthusiasm that's there when you share this success story, either yourself or somebody else's, that may open doors for you as well. So if you've had changes in that area or know someone who has, that may be really cool. Struggling with her weight. This one's struggling with weight, academics.
While you're looking, I just want to let people know Lauren's book that she wrote is really wonderful, The Other Side of Bipolar. I put the Amazon link in the chat.
Thank you.
People are interested. Someone asked about reaching Dr. Terry. I put her email in there. And then we also have an email if you just have like general questions about research. It's research@accessconsciousness.com. Also, well, we can talk more about the research bit, but I will put in, because there's been so many people asking about, Terry's project ongoing that we'd love to have more people involved with. We did do a Zoom on that. We can actually send out the replay to you guys who are practitioners, because I don't know if you're a practitioner, if you've gotten that replay of how to participate and have clients participate in the research. We'll be getting that out again. But we did create a WhatsApp group, if you guys are on WhatsApp, with Terry in it, Lauren, myself, Betsy, some of the other people, that Amy Shine, who work with the research part of things. So if you are genuinely like wanting to know more of how to contribute to the ongoing BARS research, or have questions of like a study, like what you'd like to create or what's being created, I'm going to put that in the chat too. And you can join the WhatsApp group if you'd like to be a part of that and get, messages there. I know not everyone likes to be in WhatsApp chats, but I'll put it in there.
Yeah. And then this website, what I'm kind of getting, so under our services, you can see here that they have a lot that they do: intensive mental health, children, all this stuff. This may be a place where you can start with the staff and have a trickle down effect. That's one possibility. So connecting to, like over here, the contact us and say, hey, I offer this amazing service that helps with anxiety. And again, use your own words with it. It makes your body relaxed. It quiets your mind. All that negative self-talk goes away. It becomes easier to find yourself in the noise of life. There's a lot of different ways you could say it based on your experience. You could offer it to the clients they serve. Also, an easier, and like I said, sometimes if you offer it to the people who are actually doing the sessions already, just to give them a taste of it, you may get referrals that way. You also may get them choosing more. You also may get them choosing to get trained in it and integrate it into their own practice. What an amazing way to spread it. There's a lot of different possibilities. It's kind of looking at where they are now and where the opening is. So our services is helpful because it gives you a lot of information. They do tons of stuff here. but they also have tons of professionals working with them. It's a really fun energy. If you actually look even energetically right now, get a sense of all of the people who have their hands in the community a lot. First responders, healthcare workers, educators, therapists, all of the stress that they're going through that actually may bleed over into what they're creating. And also kind of having a mouth and having that touch point where they can impact a lot of change. What if there was an opening to actually allow them to experience this, and what can that create? So there's different ways to look at this. You know, one of my favorite questions to ask is, where can I have the most impact? And it's funny because when I ask that question, my awareness kind of leads me not where I would anticipate it to lead me. But it may be that this might be a kind of a cool organization to at least start there. It doesn't mean you have to stay, but I wonder, offering to the professionals who are serving, what that may create. Another really cool idea, resource section. A lot of these community places have a resource section where they offer links to practitioners, that kind of thing. So if you do see a resource session on that, what would it take to get listed under there? So that would be another in that you can talk about, is I have a business that actually kind of functions like a resource center. How is that for you? Did I hit some points? Or do
Thank
have
you so
more
much,
questions?
Lauren. That was amazing. Thank you. Gave me a
Oh, you're
whole bunch of little things I can expand on. Thank you.
Little nuggets, right? You know, and
Exactly.
just keep in mind, Vicki, you're going to have a totally different awareness than I do, and that's not wrong. That's the brilliance of it. So kind of go where you start to kind of see those wiggly openings. You know, I think so many of us kind of think there's a one way to get in, and there's not at all. You know, but the more you can kind of be creative with how you connect is really cool.
Thanks, Lauren. Andy said in the chat she had a question that she would like to unmute and actually ask you, as opposed to. So Andy, take it away.
Hi there. Hey, I have a quick question. I was a little late to getting on the call because I was recording a TV show. But so I am in this is a conversation to have, you know, again and again. So so I'm a magazine publisher. I'm in Omaha. I'm wanting to create a access consciousness business. I went to COP. I'm not so, to me, the health and wellness industry or whatever, hold on, let me just back up. To me, where I feel I can be of most benefit, and I guess I'm looking for some questions to ask, is more about like joy of business and helping people with their wealth and incorporating, you know, I incorporate the access tools into my business, but I've been doing what I've been doing for 28 years. So it's maybe an extension of this. I can't like freak people. I don't want to freak people out to like, oh, Andy, the publisher that's been doing this, and all of a sudden now she's doing this. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I'm going to share with you kind of where I came at this too, being a medical professional, and then starting to share more of the energetic side. And I had like a slow lead in. I had the yoga and the meditation, which kind of like a bit more like palatable right now. Of course, it didn't start that way. It's just been around forever. What would it take for access to kind of build and build and build for that too? It was just kind of an interesting thing that comes in our mind, that we have to be neither one, either or. So first and foremost, everywhere you're making yourself and everybody an either or, where you're a mainstream person or you're alternative practitioner, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Times a godzillion. Yes. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. One of the things that really stuck me is not seeing the brilliance in that. Not actually knowing that, wow, there's a way I can work what I'm already connected with, the languaging that I already have, and where I'm already going, adding this in a way that actually works for the people that are here now, and building a new audience as well.
Yes.
So
because I don't.
Yeah,
Sorry.
everything that brings up
Yeah.
and lets down Everywhere the old can't come with the new. Everywhere it's not about adding it all together and amplifying it from there. Let's all destroy and create all that. Sounds like God's doing it. Yeah, well, right, wrong, good, bad, talk, pod, all 9 short stories, and beyond.
So I feel like on my journey, as I'm doing this, and I'm loving everything. And again, the bars piece is great. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm asking. I just know that I know how I know I want to. I'm a vehicle here in my community and also around the world, but in my community to bring this, and whether it is through bars or Joy of Business, and I know you have to be a facilitator for that, and I'm working towards my, CF. I actually kind of want a plan or a roadmap to be strategic, but also let what everything is possible to get me there, and then also be able to speak to the best to. I just feel like I'm not saying this very well.
But you're bringing up energies that I think a lot of people struggle with. So thank you for voicing that and bringing that up. First and foremost, thank you for that. And I kind of wonder what's possible with this conversation bubbling, what's possible now to change that hasn't been possible to change before.
Yeah.
And I'm super curious.
Yeah. Number
1, what would be fun for you? And number 2, where do you think you have to do it a certain way that's not fun for you? What if you actually had permission or the freedom to explore how this could actually work for you in the way that works for you? And to change it if it doesn't at any given moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just released a whole bunch of something.
Yeah. And how about we invite our bodies to dissipate and release all the energy that's been housed and stored and held, and I want to do this, but I can't do this, and oh my God, if I do this, all of that stuff. It's just bullshit.
Yeah. I'm so excited about this, but I don't know what the fuck to do with this. And maybe I don't need to do anything with this right now. I just need to, I don't know. All right.
Yeah. What if waking up in the morning and you just ask the question, what would be fun today? What would be fun today? That's it.
All right. I will do that every day.
Every day.
Thank you.
And the fun part is so huge, right? Because who wants to do a business that's not fun? You know what I mean? And that's maybe a lot of people do. I'm not quite sure about that, but being able to.
I'll also say, I have this community and this business that I've had for, 28 years, that how do I leverage everything that who I am and who I am in the community to then expand over and not necessarily get rid of this, but bring this into it, and then to expand out around, nationally or globally. It's just, I'm just having a lot of head games about this is who I am, but I want to invite people into all this stuff that I'm learning and knowing, and I want to share it with them. And how do I do that in a way that, again, doesn't freak people out? So I don't want to keep going on and on about that. I'll re-listen to this. I just maybe even saying it out loud. Again.
And listen to yourself. This is kind of the fun part about recording yourself. You go back and listen. You're like, oh, there's a point of view there. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Oh, wait, like that could be a point of view too. That's holding me back. Oh, that's really fascinating. I wonder what I could change.
Yeah.
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 Emily, did you have something?
Right. Yes, I just will include in the replay too, Andy. I don't know if you've watched it, but about a year ago, the Stephen and Chutissa Bowman were on one of the BF calls, and it was brilliant about, again, like the stuff that Lauren's talking about, from questions you can ask, if you have points of view about approaching people, things you can say, working with businesses and professionals, and it's wonderful. So we can put the link.
I would love that. And I love
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I would love that.
It was great. And really, Lauren, thank you. This has like been one of my favorite Zooms, and I can tell from everyone in the chat too. I know you guys, I'm really grateful because this is a conversation and things that like so many people have questions on. So thank you. We will be doing these like for practitioners, just like Zooms, and you guys are all invited if you're, facilitators too, every 2 or 3 months. So we'll get another one on the schedule. Someone asked in the chat too about schools and access tools, and we are doing in August, sorry for my computer noises, the call in August, the all facilitator call, and we will also make sure to invite this list, so all practitioners, to a Zoom on that, on bars, schools, kids, the things that some facilitators have used to bring bars to schools. We're writing a new manual for the bars manual that is just for kids. Hopefully that'll be ready. We're aiming for that August date, so kind of get all that in place before the school year starts for a lot of the worlds, back again at the end of August or September. So that is coming, and we'll make sure to invite all of you. And
they were asking too what the date is of the August call, and it's August 4th at 12 noon Pacific time.
Ooh, are you sure it's not the 12th?
No, you told me. Okay, well, we'll double check on that.
I think we need to double check that, but let's put the save the date in this replay. I know it's far out, but if you guys like to have that date ahead of time, that way it's in your calendar.
Emily?
Yes.
You were talking about a specific bars manual for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Really?
Because, I have just one boy in one of my classes, and he was 9, and I perceived that he was a little bit bored during the first part of the class.
Yeah.
He was totally involved in the second part of the class, which was trading bars, and he loved. But the first part, I think he really didn't understand the manual and all those words. So if you are planning to have specific manual for children, that would be great.
It is coming, and Anne Maxwell's been working on it. I mean, she's interviewed lots of kids about what they think about bars, how they would explain bars to someone. It's going to be like drawings for the heads, and it's in their language. So it's truly like a manual for kids. And sometimes you'll have a 9-year-old though who likes the full manual. So it's like, but for kids, and you can tell the difference, if you've done classes with kids that are how they engage, and there's no right or wrong, but we know that there's a real desire for that. So it is coming in August, and we will put the save the date link in the email. It's August 8th at noon Pacific.
So let me tell you that I am part of the translation Dazzle. So I can, I am available for translating it into Portuguese as soon as you have it in English.
Yes, we will get it translated as soon as it's in English. We need to get it in English first, and then, then we will translate it as fast as we can.
So I'm putting myself available for translation into Portuguese as soon as as soon as it's available in English. Okay.
Great. Thank you, guys. And thank you again, Lauren, and thank you all for being on, and we will send the email out. Takes a little bit to get translated, our replay email, so give us a few days, and we can also put the same information that we're going to put in the email. We will post there's a practitioner Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, search Access Practitioner on Facebook. We will put it in there, and we'll also put the same replay information in like the bars facilitator group and Facelift, so you guys can find it probably faster than we'll get the email sent. But the email will be coming. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Lauren. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.